Hi, this video I'd like to explain my project for the project-based internship at Bank Mandiri as a mobile application developer. So the things that I will cover in this video are about the introduction of my project, and then about the task 5, which is the mandatory task in Rakamin project-based internship, and the next one is the demo of the application, and the last one is the summary. So let me introduce myself first. I'm Jihan, an informatics student at Universitas Islam Indonesia, and right now I'm on my 8th semester. And recently I'm doing my research on health informatics. And the program that I choose in the Rakamin program is the mobile application developer at Bank Mandiri. So the reason why I take this course is because I want to enhance my technical skills, and then to have a real world application, and then the last one is to prepare my career. So in the task 5, we actually have some main things to do, such as have one page contains one headline, also the recycle view of all news, and then the second one we have to connect all of them using NewsAPI, and the last one is to implement the infinite scrolling for the recycle view. But here I put some more features, such as I have categorization for the headline, since it provided in the documentation of the News API. And then I also provide the page contains the detail of the news. And the last one is that I have a function to search the news. This project, I use MVC architecture. There's the model, view, and controller, and I don't use the MVVM because of the complexity, since it is an individual project. So I divide it into 3. In the model, I put all of the data model and also the API configuration, such as the config network and then the new service. And for the view, I put all of the layout XML file and then the recycler view adapter. For the last thing, there is the controller. I put all of the UI logic there, such as the all news, news activity, and then the news detail, and also I put the util, that is the constant. Next thing that we have to do is to retrieve the data from the API. The first thing that we have to do is to create an account in the newsapi.org, and there we can get the API keys. The next one, we have to define the constant for the better management of our source code, and then to set up the retrofit in config network for the API request. Next, we can define the API endpoints in new service. Actually, it can be adjusted based on our preferences or the goal of our application. And then, since I already copy all of the JSON data, I can use JSON plugins in Android Studio to have a data model for our application. The last thing that we have to do is to update our permission in Android manifest, since to retrieve the data from NewsAPI we need internet access, so we have to update the internet and then the network access permission in the Android manifest. So the next one is that I have to create the user interface. So the first thing that I've done is to have a color palette, since Mandiri itself, they use blue as the main color. So I decided for this Mandiri News, I use the blue color as the main color. So I adjusted the colors.xml to have a consistent calling for the color. And then I also create toolbar.xml to have a consistent toolbar for each pages, and then a dialog loading. So when we call the data from the News API, it takes time, right? So I decided to have a dialog loading so that the user know that, oh, it's still loading, so I have to wait. And then I also adjust the font, so I use Poppins for the font. And then here we have three main layout actually. The first one is homepage, the second one is the detail news, and the last one is the all news. So in homepage we have one headline with the categories and then a recycle field to show all of the news. And then when we click the see all button in the homepage, we will be directed to the next page, that is the all news page, where we can see all of the news there, the everything in NewsAPI, and we can also do searching data. And the last one, when we click the news, the specific news, we can be directed to the detail page where it has an image and then the title, author, the date, and then the content of the news. And don't forget, for specific tags such as title, images, authors, and then the date, we have to put IDs there so that we can later change the data based on the NewsAPI. Since we've done with the user interface, we have to handle the UI logic as well. So here, I will explain first about the recycler view. So in recycler view adapter, we have unbind view holder function, which contains set of article title, author, date in the item layout, and then we also have a handler for the click events to open the data of each articles. And then since the data of the image we have is in URL, so we have to use glide to display the images. Next, for the add data and the update data function, we use the add data function to append new articles dynamically, and then for the update data, we use it to refresh the entire list for filtering search that we have in all news data page. Next, we have to create a function to load the news from API and then to have an infinite scrolling. So to have an infinite scrolling, we have to declare two variables. The first one is the total item count and then the last visible item. So this variable used to detect the user's scroll events and then load more news when the last visible item is near the bottom. So the logic is that when the last visible item is near the bottom, the total item count will add it so that the total visible item will be added, and then we can see the next page items. And then the next one, for the use from the API in load news, since it is a recycler view, we have to implement the load news to the recycler news. That is the recycler view of the news. The next one is that we have to have a function to load the API news to our headline and then to have the category filter. For the function to load the headline from the API, the name is load headlines. This is the function to include everything to get the data from API. So we only have to call this function on the onCreate. And then for the filter category, since as I explained before that I have category filter in the first page or the home page, so I have to have a function to update the style of the category. So when I click another category, this color will change to blue, and then the previous color will change, the previous category color will change to the default color. So I put this function in the setup headline and then also the update headline category. Thank you so much for watching and have attention to this video. So actually you guys can access the source code of this project by accessing the link in the description below. And then you guys can also take a visit to my social media, that is my GitHub and then my LinkedIn. So that's it. Thank you so much guys.